The biggest opportunity right now in the entire AI space is accurately thinking that custom GPTs are just an army of virtual employees because of a feature they just added, which is the at feature, where you are able to type the at sign within ChatGPT and you get access to all of your custom GPTs immediately, as if you were mentioning someone on Slack. If you're wondering if this video is, applicable to you, it is applicable to everyone who wants to think more clearly, for everyone who wants to do more productive work, and for everyone who wants to learn more efficiently. So if you fall into any of these three buckets, this video will have a lot to do with you. The way that I think about this entire process is as follows. So you're starting out here. And so this is you, right? And you are starting out here and you want to get somewhere, right? You want to get to here. Maybe you're starting out with an idea, right? You have an idea that pops into your brain and you want to take this idea and go somewhere with it, right? And so think about this. So let's say you get an email from your boss and you want to quickly respond based on what he said. You can go into ChatGPT and with one singular prompt, you can say, take this email that my boss said, plus some ideas that I have, and turn it into a deliverable. We'll call this D1. And this deliverable is an email to boss. Now, let's rethink this from a little further out, shall we? Now let's think about custom GPTs. Custom GPTs, you're not just trying to go anywhere. You're trying to go somewhere at a certain level of accuracy. So let's say D1 is located here. And then you write a prompt with ChatGPT saying, take my boss's email and tell him that I don't actually want to go to the meeting or something like that, and use a professional tone. So this is prompt number 1. And you prompt it and you say, actually make it a little less formal. It sounds a little too formal. And you create another prompt, but again, it doesn't fully get there. And so this is prompt number 2. And then you're like, okay, ChatGPT, make it a little bit more concise and be a little bit more friendly. And you're almost there. You're just like, oh, make sure to add the right footer to the email. And then you're there. Right? And then that took 4 separate prompts. So on the way to D1, we learned, so we went here to here to here to here. And so we had to kind of make 1, 2, 3, 4 adjustments to figure out how we want to speak to the boss. D1 is just equal to email boss, right? So that is just the deliverable that we want there. There's also many other deliverables that we need. So we have D2, D3, 4, 5, 6, and so on. OpenAI realized this was a huge pain point for people to have to rewrite these rules in ChatGPT over and over again. And last year, they released something that was called Custom Instructions, which allowed you to create custom rules that were taken into account every time. And then smartly, they adjusted after that. And we're like, okay, we'll make separate little custom instructions. So now you could have these little custom instructions. Each one has a photo and a name. So you could name them. And these were custom GPTs. Each custom GPT you can find on the left part of your screen when using ChatGPT. And they're comprised of 3 different things. So they're comprised first of instructions, and these instructions can be thought of as a job description. And so everything below this line, imagine if you were actually just thinking about an employee. So this is a job description. At the beginning of this video, I said that they are like virtual employees. So if you're envisioning them as virtual employees, the instructions are the job description. The files, which I'm pretty sure they rebranded as knowledge, these are like the virtual employees' skills or context. What do they know? And then there's also actions. And I'm going to be spending a lot of time on actions in this video. But the reason I'm going to be focusing so much on actions right now is that this is the tools that your virtual employee can use. You can tell them exactly what they do in their job. You can tell them exactly what skills they need to have or what files they need to have as context. So if you're creating a custom GPT that makes newsletters, upload 10 different newsletters as examples so it knows what to reference, and it will slowly get better and better and better and better over time. And then finally, they have tools. They can literally access websites, databases. They can access Zapier. That is something that I'm going to be discussing in great detail in this video. Remember, we learned 4 things. And more realistically, you'll learn like 10 or 15 different rules. These rules end up being instructions that you can store for later, right? And you're going to call this like email bot. Or if you want to put it in formula form, you're going to call this D1 bot. And you'll just insert D1 into this place right here. And then we're going to do it again. And imagine you're a social media manager for a company, and you are creating content of all different kinds. You can now create D2, and you can put all these rules into this format that you've learned over time through testing to get right here, and you've perfected it. And so this takes upfront time, D3, D4. And so you can store these as custom GPTs, and earlier they lived on the sidebar of ChatGPT, right? And you could work in ChatGPT, copy all that information, click on the sidebar, go to a different custom GPT, paste it in, and then tell it to do something. That was incredibly useful because you didn't have to type in those same prompts over and over again. However, it got even easier now because all you have to do literally now is when you're using ChatGPT and you're looking into the text box, right? The text box that you normally type in, here's the logo right here. That's the ChatGPT logo. And you're typing into the prompt. You just do @. So let's say you've been prompting it before and you have this like really sick answer from ChatGPT here. And it just outlines everything you want to talk about in a newsletter, for example. Now, if you've created a newsletter bot that converts an idea that you have into a new clean newsletter format, well, all you need to do is type in @newsletterbot and then say @newsletterbot, go. If you give it the right instructions, I'll show you that with these actions that you can set up, you can just set up, it will immediately take what you were working on previously and it will turn it into whatever the deliverable is that you've created for your custom GPT. So the quality of your custom GPTs starts with the quality of the deliverables that you are able to get from the quality of your instructions, your file, and your actions that you give custom GPTs. It's like having an efficient pipeline right here. It's like it moves down this path efficiently. Maybe you're a student and you want to very quickly get your work done. Maybe you're forced to go to school, but you actually want to have time to start your side business. Just use custom GPTs, and it can absolutely run it. And with actions, you could even spit your essay through a non-plagiarism thing that could actually send it back to you and give you 3 different options. It's possible. For sure. Now we're going to dive into custom GPTs and talk through some of my thoughts and ideas about creating my army. Okay, so let's dive in here, shall we? While on ChatGPT, what are the best streaming softwares for multiple platforms? Just list them, no description. I want to save this information at add click, add this list. And so this is my to-do list right now, the one that I just started today. Oh, it just came in. Best streaming for multiple platforms. We can click on it, and in this custom text field, there we go. We have all of these. So it just saved it as a note. Can you also ask Jeremy if he's tried Restream? It's going out, starting action. And there we go. It has talked. So now we can go check. As you can see here in the comments, it asked, have you tried using Restream for streaming? It asked him that question. So you can add comments to an external database. Here is how you set them up. You start off by giving it a name that you can always call, and the name is actually much more important now because you can just type the @ and access any of them at at any given time. So the name is really important. I would have a hierarchy. All my ClickUp ones, they're going to start with click. Then here we have the instructions. And so a user will call you when they want to add something to the main board. And so as a test, I'm only adding things to the main board within ClickUp. And so I just created future of, which is the name of my community. And we created a main board here. This main board is just a list of tasks, and each one of these tasks can have a subtask. So I'm making this very specific. So when you do add click, it adds to your main board. If you're familiar with second brain, I was thinking that this is kind of the second brain idea where it gets added to this location. The next step is kind of categorizing them, like tagging them or moving them where they need to go. So it's basically saying anytime anything is added at all, like anytime there needs to be something added, create it like a task. These in ClickUp are considered tasks. These are subtasks if you create them, right? That's a subtask. So if it is added to ClickUp, use tasks. And what this means is it's going to be using a specific rule, and this is where it gets interesting.
So you're probably wondering, how did it go from ChatGPT to ClickUp? And the answer is actions on Zapier. If you go to this link, you can find this right here. This is that link, and I'll put it in the description. And what this is this shows all of the things that OpenAI can do directly from ChatGPT. And you can set these up to your custom GPTs, because remember, your custom GPTs all have actions. These are the actions you can do within Zapier. So you can hook Zapier up to do all these different things. And these are the ones that I have enabled for the ClickAll custom GPT that I'm about to create that uses ClickUp. But if we were to hit add new action here and we typed in ClickUp, we'll see a list of like 10 to 15 different options. Like we can post an attachment, create a folder, update a task. So let's say we actually wanted to generate an image with Dolly and create an automation within ChatGPT. We could use this rule, and it's going to have AI guess what the value is for the workspace and the file. So we can go back and we should see it here at the top. And so you want to make sure these are enabled if you plan on using them. And you don't need to have all of them enabled. I don't plan on using this yet, so I'm going to disable it. And so to learn this entire process on Zapier, just go to this link and follow the instructions. Put in 30 minutes to an hour of time kind of learning those rules, which is this page right here. And this will go through the entire process. This is the link that you need to get set up. And these are the template rules that I'll be kind of diving into in this video. Get back to it.
So when you're first setting up on Zapier, just copy this to your clipboard, and it should have this like JSON tools meta. There will be a link to this page right here, and you're going to paste this here within actions. So you're going down to actions, and you are pasting this import URL, paste it, import. And you should get this code right here. It looks pretty freaking good. And then we're just going to click update, confirm. What ClickAll purpose is going to do is it's going to do one of these actions right here. These are just the names of the actions that I've turned on right here. And so these actions that I've turned on, we're going to list them right here. That's looking good. Let's say we're reading an article. And so let's go to TechCrunch, and let's say we're reading this article on these Anybotics raises 50 million to do this stuff, blah, blah, blah. So we're going to copy all of this in ChatGPT and say summarize in 5 key points, just for time's sake. And there we go. So what we can do is go at ClickAll, add this to main board as task, and include whole response in text field. And so ClickAll, this ClickAll is starting the action. Let's see if it gets it. And there we go. The task summary of Anybotics deployment has been successfully added to the main board in ClickUp. So ClickUp link, we can click here, and there we go. The text field was filled in right here. So we can see if we hover over this right here, we see it pop up like this. So if we're looking at the text field, we hover over it, we can see the response here. We can see Anybotics, and we can click on this, and there we go. We have this text field, and we can see here that the activity, we can see that it was added right here as well. This is only the beginning, because if we go to Zapier real quick, so let's go to Zapier. Let's create a new Zap. We're going to create a new Zap. And what we're going to do is we're going to create a trigger. And this trigger is going to be that thing that we just did. So from ChatGPT, we created this trigger event. And this trigger event is going to be a new task, and it's going to be in my account, which I've already set up. And the trigger workspace is going to be Riley Brown's workspace. In the space, future of should be the name of it. There we go. In the folder called, we're just going to leave that blank. And we're going to test this trigger. We just created a trigger event. And that trigger event is the event that happens at the beginning that causes the chain. And the chain is over here. This is the chain.
Okay, I understand I'm moving really fast right now. I'm here to provide some context. Keep in mind, this is my first time using the feature. So this is an experimental process for me because I've been thinking about custom GPTs and my army of custom GPTs for months. Let's talk about Zapier first. You can use them with actions, meaning you can access Zapier via the actions feature on ChatGPT. And so that screen with a bunch of toggles coming up, and you'll see a bunch of toggles are Zapier actions that have integrations with other tools. With ClickUp, there's about 11 different action integrations, which is different. This is all different than the actual Zapier platform. What you could do on the normal Zapier platform, right, is you can create these chains. And the chains start with a trigger, right? So you have this trigger at the beginning. If this happens, then the chain begins. And so then you can create this next thing. I've done this with Notion before. Let's use Excel, like an Excel spreadsheet or a Google Sheet. So you can say that if you create a Google Sheet, and imagine on the Google Sheet you have 1 column, 2 column, 3 column, 4 column. And then so you have your entry. So you have your first entry, and then there's going to be something in this first row here. Each one of these is like a variable. By creating this row, it triggers this. And it actually keeps track of these 4 things, right? It keeps track of these 4 variables. And let's call them 1, 2, 3, and 4. So 1, 2, 3, and 4. And let's say you were just wanted to create a simple zap, and that's, created a little word like, zap, you zap it or whatever. It's pretty stupid. Let's say you wanted to, the text for the tweet you wanted to tweet, this was when you wanted to tweet it or whatever. You can add an OpenAI integration right here that takes the text that you wrote in this column right here that you were going to paste into, that you want to turn into a tweet, and it runs it through an AI. It runs it through OpenAI and just has a little prompt. Let's say you're using Tweet Hunter or something like that, like a external software that schedules it for later. And so that's kind of what it basically allows you to do. It allows you to create some sort of event, and there's so many of these triggers, so many of them. And you need to look for these trigger events where you can store information because you can get really creative with these. And then once you start it with the right variables, the possibilities are endless. And the cool thing about this new update, the way that I see it, you have all your Zapier, so your normal Zapier chains. We'll call them Zapier chains. Then you have your triggers, right? You have your actions. You're plugging your custom GPTs that you make so that they connect to Zapier actions. And that first Zapier action, which is basically add something to ClickUp, we make this item here, we make this ClickUp item here, the trigger in this chain. So when something gets added as a task to ClickUp, it becomes the trigger. So the trigger equals the ClickUp add task, right? Picture it as a note. Picture this as just a note, because that's kind of how I'm using it. So it's basically adding a note into ClickUp. Within this note, you can actually create custom fields. So you can create custom fields and include text. When you get a long summary from ChatGPT, in your custom GPT, then maybe you have a summary, but then you also need a title for it. So the title goes in as the title. And then within this note, you can add a subfield, which is just a description. Or if it was a spreadsheet, you can picture it just as you have the name in the first column and then the description in the second column. In the third column, you have a date. In the fourth column, you have whatever the right? These are just kind of variables that you can then use in a later trigger. And what I go throughout the rest of this video is I'm going to run this through Claude you're basically just taking a chat with something like ChatGPT, except significantly worse. I just use it because I get free API access. So you run it through Claude, and it accesses these variables because this has the title, which is variable A, and then it has the, I think I call it context, which is just a text field, and we'll call this B. So Claude is like, create an essay based on A and B. So you ask Custom GPT to do whatever you want. Then you can bring it in via an action. You basically use the @ sign. So I used @ClickAll is the name of my Custom GPT, ClickAll, which then triggers this action, right? And I don't want to use the word trigger to get it mixed up with this, but it basically initiates action. And this action pushes it to ClickUp straight from ChatGPT. I can do so much work directly in ChatGPT because this all gets sent to ClickUp. And then that is just the trigger. And so then in Zapier, you can do anything because you can send this, you could send this to 11 Labs to create an audio description. You could send it to HeyGen to create an avatar. This is very expensive, but it's getting cheaper. There's alternatives coming, but we can do all kinds of cool stuff. And then this is kind of how you start getting like fully automated content, right? The whole world gets opened up in a chat interface and becomes like these little agents. If you have the discipline to actually go in and set this up, which I'm actually just going to be going through a bunch. Anyway, watch the rest of the video.
So the next thing in the chain is we're going to go to Claude. And what we're going to do is we are going to, in the user message, right? This is as if I was just using ChatGPT, but it's Claude for this sake. We're going to say, write a beautiful essay on the future implications of the following story, right? So let's go ahead and use that as the prompt here. And so we're going to use Claude Model 2. Here's the story, right? And so we have to enter this in as a variable. So this is the prompt that we're entering into Claude. Now we're entering the variables, which anytime you create a trigger, it takes all of the different fields within that trigger, which is like the title, all of the text fields that you create below it. So we have to find where the description of the event is. And so here is that task custom field, which is text field value, right? And so that is that custom field we need to add. And then we could also get the title, which is the task name. So we're going to put the task name. I'm just going to put like a separator here, and then task custom field, so which is that body of the text here. So it's creating a prompt and saying, do this for this. So whatever it creates in ChatGPT to add to ClickUp will be the things that gets added here. I have a community and it's built on Circle. And what's cool, we can create a new post in the updates section. We can go to the community that I've already set up, future of, and the space AI updates. The topic name is going to be the name for ClickUp, and the description is going to be, we'll just use the response directly from Claude, the message right here. We can immediately send that to, and then we have to choose a user email, and so we can publish that. And then what we're actually going to do is we're just going to do this again. So we're going to go Claude. This might not be the most efficient way to do this, but I don't care really. Do a conversation. And what we're going to do is create a title. So we're going to very quickly create a title here. And so we're just going to say create a 8 to 15 word title for the given story. Only list the title, nothing else. And we can give this a max token of, say, let's go 60. And then we can give it this thing right here. So the field here. And so let's go ahead and test this step. Tell me the latest news by browsing the web, what is going on with New York Times and OpenAI. So it should browse the web here and tell me what's going on with the latest. So it's doing research with Bing. I wish it was Perplexity because Bing significantly worse. Let's just say this is good enough. So now we just go at ClickAll, add this to main board, and include this whole thing in the text field. And so we just called that custom GPT and it's starting the action, and we're going to confirm it, add it. So there we go. As you can see right here, the task titled New York Times lawsuit against OpenAI and Microsoft has been successfully added to the main board in ClickUp, which means that if we go over to the main board, right, if we go to, which is basically where I save everything, we see that directly from ChatGPT, we can create something that looks like this. And here we go, New York Times lawsuit against OpenAI and Microsoft. So it created this event and it added the text field here if we hover over this. So here we can see that this was added. And it was given this text field that you can see right here. This also means, okay, so it was just added here. And there we go, we just got a notification, right? We just got a notification saying FOC updates posted New York Times lawsuit against OpenAI and Microsoft. On future of content, if we refresh the AI updates page, boom, we see New York Times lawsuit against OpenAI and Microsoft, and we have the title. And then we have this essay on the future implications of it based on what we pulled from this. And this is the first time I've actually been able to use the tool. I got access like 4 hours ago. And so this is an experimentation. It's like, what can you do with this? And then from there, how can you create an army of all of those people where the central hub is ChatGPT, but you can deploy these chain reactions out onto the internet to go do stuff on your behalf. I think this is freaking sweet. I'm going to be creating my army completely, fully open, sharing all the details in my community, link below. So if you want to join me, find me there, subscribe. I'll be posting a lot more videos soon. I'll talk to you later. Much love. Bye.